if you don't know the property, it's right next door to Graceland. So what we tend to do on the day, that the full day they have in Memphis, is we finish with Graceland, and then people can stay as long as they want and just walk back if they want to. Mentioned earlier that there's 2 coaches running on pretty much every departure date. So it's quite important that the 2 tour leaders on both of those groups liaise with each other to make sure everybody's getting the same treatment. The coach company we use exclusively is Lewis Tours, based in New Orleans. We've used them for a long time, so they know us, we know them, and their drivers, more importantly, know the tour very well. It's the same drivers week in, week out. On the ground, all the attractions, it works pretty much like clockwork, because they see us every week. And again, we know what they want, they know what we want. It all works well. And then I suppose the only other thing really to say is Geraldine will be your main contact. Geraldine does all the pre-departure paperwork, the technical itinerary, and liaises with all the suppliers. She knows them all well, they all know her well, they all love her. And we work directly with everybody. We work with all the hotels directly, all the attractions, the bus company. So there's no receptive operators in the middle. So, you know, anything that needs a quick change or a quick tweak, we can do it. You can come straight to us, you know, and deal direct. So it's all very quick. Nothing ever takes very long to sort out if there's any issues down there. I think that pretty much covers it, really. So yeah, over to everybody else.
Yeah, Geraldine, do you want to just say anything, or has anybody got questions about anything that Richard has said? All crystal clear?
All good.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
Going to add was, I think, so tomorrow and Julie have already done tours for us. Kelly's new. I spoke to Kelly, and Laurie, we've still got to catch up. But we've just got a couple of things in the itinerary that we have like as a surprise for the passengers. So that is, one of them is the Peabody Ducks at Memphis. And also they visit the Delta Heritage Centre in Brownsville for the Tina Turner Museum and the Heritage Centre there. So we've got some extras for the passengers, which will come as a surprise. And, nice. And generally they like them. And it's always a good surprise to have when you're on tour to find out that, I think.
Right. So we've got, like some of you are sharing tours, but there are a couple of tour managers that are missing. One of them is Julie. She pretty much is from start to the end of the season. So some of you will be sharing the tour with her. The other one is Andrea, so she couldn't make it, and Carolyn. So I know that Tamara and Laurie, you're sharing a departure date together. So, you know, this is obviously a good opportunity for you guys to meet as well. Is there any questions about, general questions about when to expect paperwork, when to, you know, expect bits and pieces to come in for the tour, or are we all quite clear about that?
I think I have the flow of how paperwork comes and returning and all that. I think my first tour was absolutely fantastic. I had a great time. My group was fantastic. The driver, I want to say something about Lewis coaches. They are top notch. Kudos to you guys for getting them as your coach company. Fantastic driver. Goes above and beyond the call of duty. Excellent.
Who did you get?
I had John Weber, one of the best drivers I've ever worked with.
Oh, brilliant. That's good to hear.
I've worked with a lot of other companies and a lot of different places, and he was so on top of everything. I really appreciated his effort.
Great. Kelly, any questions from your side?
Oh, so many. I'm just coming off another program, so I'm trying to reset and and look forward to Elvis now. So I guess every company is different, and I may have asked this before, but what's your protocol for like games and prizes and entertainment on the bus? I don't want to like overstep by, you know, you know, we always do bingo and give candy as prizes, or, you know, is it a party crowd for New Orleans? So do we get beads or things like that? Like, and I understand it's on my own expense what I've asked before.
Actually, Kelly, to be honest, Matt can chip in a little bit from keeping our customers happy to doing those little gestures and enhancing your experience for the guests is absolutely welcomed. We do have a little small pot that we can actually tap into if needed, that you needed to do small gestures like that. But obviously get them checked with us first, and so we can understand what kind of costs we're looking at. But I definitely encourage games and any sort of themes around the areas that you're going to. I don't know what Richard and Geraldine think. Definitely do.
I have like 91 Elvis Presley trivia questions, and that was one of the things I did on our trip from Nashville over to Memphis, because it's a bit of a day on the coach.
Yeah.
And then when we got off at Memphis, I gave everybody one of these.
Oh, you superstar.
Nice. It's about like quarter size of a quarter. Yeah. And I get them at bulk on Amazon, very cheap. And they loved it.
And I think tomorrow you probably nailed it there. It kind of comes down to obviously how far and beyond you want to go, because everything you do will reflect on the reviews that you get. And obviously you all know, we've communicated this so many times, but we absolutely rely on the Trustpilot reviews that we get on for you, because you get incentivized for those. And obviously as a company, our exposure online grows. And the customers, for writing those reviews, they are clearly happy. No customer would write a review if they're not. So in my opinion, it's a kind of a win-win situation. And I think tomorrow that example of just those little small gestures would help. So I mean, I say, Kelly, go as far as you want with that, because it will benefit you in the end.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll be glad to send out that list of trivia questions. And it was fun because we kind of I just used the mic to ask the question, and everybody just kind of yelled out what they thought their answer was. And then I would give them the correct answer. And I mean, it was just a little break from just the monotony of droning on about the history of the South and where we're headed. And not that I don't enjoy that, I do, but some people just want to look out the window sometimes, and so it was a nice way to kind of break up the little bit of quiet time, and it was fun. So if you want that, just let me know. I'll send it out to you.
Yes. I was saying, and I think Julie wants to ask a question. Sorry, Julie, I have seen that. If you want to create a tour managers WhatsApp group amongst yourselves, I'm quite happy to share your details if you agree with that, and I can send a consent for that. But otherwise, absolutely, sharing top tips and advice is absolutely welcomed. Julie, you had a question, I think.
I was just agreeing with Tamara that I wanted a copy of the questions.
Okay. Anything else? And then I'll just let Matt have a little piece. Laurie, anything to add?
I guess for those that have done this tour before, we all know that setting expectations is important, and every tour might be the pace, or it might be a particular hotel, or enough time for scattered lunches or not. Is there anything that we commonly hear where we might just need to set some expectations from the get-go of like common concerns, I guess?
Would Geraldine, I would think Julie would be a good one to.
Yeah, just some of the things I can think offhand are, I think I've mentioned it to you, Kelly, about the dinner jazz cruise. The sometimes the style that they serve the food sometimes is not particularly what the UK guests are used to. So sometimes I think they're expecting a more sort of high class experience than they actually get. So if anyone has any complaints to make, there are hosts on board. So we would always encourage people to speak to the host or speak to you, and then you approach the host to try and get things sorted whilst they're on the ship. we do find that people wait until they've got home and then complain, by which time it's obviously far too late to do anything about it. And they are keen to try and resolve these things when they're actually on the boat having dinner. So I would strongly suggest and try and impress upon them to any issues that they have with service or food, to raise it to you or to the hosts that come round.
I will say, I'll start real quick about the food. One of the things I'd cover from Atlanta to Chattanooga, I kind of introduced myself and kind of give them an overview, but I went into this little conversation about relationships with tea. And I said, I understand that you still have a relationship with tea in the UK. And they're like, yes. I was like, well, let me explain about the relationship with tea here in the South, because there's sweet tea, sweet Southern tea, which is a staple and normal. And then there's tea, but if you want hot tea, you have to be specific. So I kind of did that, and then I kind of segued into, and the food in the South is very comfort food, that very much not what you're used to, probably not as healthy as you're used to. But when in Rome, maybe try it. If you don't like it, we'll get you something else, So I do kind of cover that in the beginning, and I do remind them along the way. Like, I got everybody on my tour to try grits.
Right, that's good.
Some had shrimp and grits, some just had cheesy grits, but they were like, what is this grits? I was like, you have to try it to understand it, because trying to explain to him, it's kind of like a porridge, a finely ground. They didn't get it. I was like, just try it. Yeah. If you don't like it, it's okay.
Love
Grits
it.
is not something that you can explain. Grits is not something that you can explain.
No.
On the steamboat, I usually tell them this is the perfect opportunity to try something that is Creole that you don't have to go and buy and may not like. This is your opportunity to try those staples.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and all that little sort of tidbit information, I think people like.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Anything else, Matt? Do you want to? Matt's camera is off because his internet connection is not that good. So, Matt, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, sorry guys, my internet connection is really poor. I hope you can hear me okay. First of all, pleasure to meet you all, even online. Just to really reiterate, I mean, as Richard said, it's our biggest selling long haul tour. So numbers are so vast, so huge, and lots of the customer feedback, as well as the boat, is the intensity of the tour. Lots crammed in, but that's fantastic and that's great. And I think your storytelling that you mentioned, Tamara and Julie, is fantastic, and that's what we really want to encourage from a service point of view, is lots and lots of storytelling, lots of personalized experiences that you've had. Try and break up those journeys as much as you can. We do get that feedback online quite regularly about the intensity, but at the same time we want them all to experience everything there is to offer. So this is the only way we can do it. And of course, people have fantastic tours. We've this year already in 2025 had a huge increase in Trustpilot reviews of several of the tours. I think Julie Gilmore and Andrea together had like 19 different Trustpilot reviews off one date, which was absolutely fantastic, and it's like one of the highest we've ever achieved. So what we really want to do is continue to encourage you to promote that as much as possible. If you've had a fantastic tour and the customers have absolutely loved it, which I'm sure they will, because that's the kind of response we get from the Elvis tour, then make sure you get your name up in lights on those reviews, because number one, we're going to pay you for those 5-star reviews, and secondly, of course, it's just lovely to see the customers' feedback out on the World Wide Web. If any of you need a bit of a refresher on the best way to promote that or the technicalities of doing it, I mean, some tour managers just on the last day just start saying, here's the link to Trustpilot if you'd like to make a review. It's really up to you, but don't miss out on that opportunity. I can see Tamara's holding up some guidelines of something you're holding up there. So yeah, please share that amongst yourselves. But Tamara, you mentioned you had a really great tour. We'd love to have loads of reviews saying that, and I'm sure the customers We've had a great time, but let's encourage that. Yeah, I think preempting anything. So when you talk about the food you can try, the localities, anything you can preempt in advance is real key to making sure customers are prepared for absolutely everything. But the storytelling, don't forget that bit, because that's fantastic what I've heard already today. So I just encourage you to all continue with that.
And just to add to that, I think, sorry, Tamara, just to add to that, I think most of you are either trip school trained or ITMI, or, you know, have gone through some formal training that does encourage that as the new era of tour managing. Storytelling is the way forward in terms of on-ground services. So, yeah, I would echo what Matt's saying. Sorry, Tamara, just if you may. You had a question.
The only thing I was going to bring up is we are entering severe weather season here in the South.
Okay.
I was just watching the forecast today for the next 9 days. It's going to get a little crazy. In the area that we travel through in Tennessee, they're calling for tornadoes and just some crazy thunderstorm weather. So my question is, have you worked out with Lewis coaches what the protocol is if we are encountering severe weather as we're traveling through?
We do it as it happens.
Okay.
We had one in September last year. The only one in the whole season, actually, that we had to keep them for 2 nights in Birmingham before we moved on to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Which Birmingham tourism people loved. And they're now
Not
more
so much
prepared if it happens again, that they've got lots of things up their sleeve that they want to do. Yeah, we just have to watch it, basically. But Lewis won't operate if they think it's unsafe.
Well, I live in Oklahoma, so I'm very familiar with tornado weather and what to do. Like if we were in town, you had made it to the hotel, I have great instructions to give them. But on a motor coach, I don't know what your protocol is or what you've agreed for them to do with a group of people.
I think in those instances, one of the most important things is that, you know, like Richard said, there will be a degree of watching. We will usually get a heads up about that. It's hard to predict those sorts of situations, but yeah, there will be an element of watching. I think our customer operations team are brilliant. They're the best that we've had so far. So they will be on hand. They'll be there to support. But equally, Richard and Geraldine are very hands-on as well. So feel free to reach out to us. But yeah, I think it's important to have like a little bit of a plan B in your mind about how you can keep the guests entertained or, you know, engaging. I know it's very difficult in those sorts of natural disasters, but often honesty is the best policy. Look, we know the situation is rubbish, but we have to make do. And, you know, is there anything in particular that you've got a question about that I'm happy to answer? That these sorts of reassurances will help the situation on the ground, I think. But if ever you needed that additional advice and you were unsure about how far you can go, like, for example, I'll give you some examples where we had severe weather conditions in Italy and our tour managers were calling into customer operations saying, look, we can't really move from where we are. We're going to be stuck here for a couple of hours. Can we buy the guests a pastry and a cup of coffee or something? Right. Absolutely, yes. And, you know, you can buy those and expense those. So in those extreme circumstances, reach out to us, definitely.
Yeah. Got it.
Anything else before we sort of round up?
Sorry. Well, one thing I was just going to suggest about setting expectations, I think, is sometimes the meal stops en route. Some people may not expect a truck stop, but unfortunately, by the nature of the journeys that we're doing, the distances we're traveling, that is the option for a quick lunch, get back on the road to get them to these places like New Orleans, Memphis, Nashville, so that they can then enjoy the evening and have dinner there.
Yeah.
So
and they can experience
a
real American truck stop.
Yeah, so it's an experience in itself, especially if you go places like those Buc-ee's that people have been talking about.
Yeah, they love Buc-ee's. They love Buc-ee's.
No, you'll never get them out of Buc-ee's.
But well, yeah, I guess like, it's part of the experience. But I think some people don't realise that that's what is going to happen because they don't necessarily realise the distance travelled, and that is just the necessity to get you from A to B.
Sorry, Kelly, I think you were going to say something.
Not a big deal. I just, I met tomorrow in Denver last November. So I have your card. So I'm going to be texting you and emailing you about the pins and trivia. So I will send that to you. And then just minor question. I know the supplies are going to be at our first hotel in Birmingham.
Oh no, it should be with the coach.
By the way,
it should be with the coach.
I got 2 sets. So I have an extra set. I got one at the guest house and one in Nashville. So I have 2 sets. So I'll leave a set at I don't know where to leave it. Probably at the guest house.
Leave it with the coach.
Okay, I can do that.
Because someone will be there then to pick up the coach. Kelly, your stuff should be on the coach when you pick it up in Atlanta on the 29th.
Okay. And how much is in it, or what is in it? Like, do I need to allow for bringing things back in my luggage?
No, it will be. No, it's not going to be.
Motor coach sign, name tag, maybe a flag. Not a lot.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking like a box of things.
No.
And then there's no uniforms, am I right? There's just
there
nice
clothes. There isn't any Newmarket holiday uniform. I think in terms of dress code, we just ask you all to be smart and casuals. We don't encourage fluorescent bright colours where possible. If you can, keep them down to natural tones, blues, blacks, greys, whites. But yes, absolutely. Just leaving it to you guys to look the part.
Yes, I didn't know. So, and like I said, every company does it different. They require polos or, you know, I have polos in every color now. So.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I have the rainbow.
I mean, I say they don't have a uniform yet. So take that as that. There will be soon.
Okay.
All right, everybody. I'm going to round it up there unless anyone's got a last minute quick one, and then
I've got one more thing actually, but go on, Julie, you speak first.
I was just going to ask if anybody has been to the Ocean Springs Resort.
Yes.
I'm doing that one this year, and I've never been there, so I didn't know. I'm actually planning a summer trip to get there so I could see it. I didn't know if anybody else had been there yet.
Let me know when you're going. I'll go with you.
Hey.
Okay.
I've been. Are you doing it in September?
Yes.
Yeah. The first tour goes in about 3 weeks. I'm going to say we've got some doubts over it working just based on its remote location. But we've also got some options in Biloxi to fall back on. But we're going to see how the first one goes.
Okay, because I was going to make a trip down there this summer so I could find out what places to eat around. Just, you know, is it walkable? That sort of thing.
Okay, maybe we can get some feedback once the first trip's gone, and we can share that with you, Julie. That's not a problem at all.
And based on that first trip, we may make a change to it.
Okay.
But if it works, you know, it's where Elvis stayed, so that's what we want. But I am just a little bit concerned about the property being isolated. Down there, but we'll let you know. The other thing I was going to say, just correct me on for upcoming departures. Are you all doing the 7-night Elvis tour, New Orleans, Memphis, Nashville? Yeah. So you end in Nashville. I was there about a month ago, and the Holiday Inn Vanderbilt. As you look out the front of it, there's a McDonald's on the other side of the street. To the left of the McDonald's, down a side street, there's a bar called The Local. And I went over there for a drink with Julie, one of the other tour directors, and it was full of our clients, and they loved it. It had live music. It was a little dark place, but the drinks were cheap, and they stayed there all night. Just in case you need a little tip while they're in Nashville.
That's good to know, because when my group was there, the hotel on property was having some kind of country music writers showcase, and it was like $15 cover to get in, so they couldn't even eat locally. And a bunch of us went next door to Montana Joe's, and some other people went back downtown. But I saw that place, and I was like, maybe I'll walk over there later. I didn't, but
yeah, it doesn't look anything from the outside.
Yeah.
To be honest, it doesn't look anything from the inside, but they had a good, really good time.
Those are usually the best places.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously, you know, true Nashville fashion. It was people who were writing music and just playing it.
Yeah.
Maybe we were lucky.
That's good.
And Monday night they have a regular. Is it Monday night? Yeah, Monday night. The second night they have a regular band at the local that always plays, which is pretty good. And then just down the street in the Graduate too is the Limousine rooftop, which is really nice.
Yeah. And they could walk down there, can't they?
Yeah, it's all in Midtown.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you all. I have recorded the session. I just want to ask you all if it's okay and with your consent that I can share it with the other guys that weren't here. And I will email you all just to ask for your consent. If you want to have a WhatsApp group, by all means have it. Then I'll be happy if you did as well. But thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to working with you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Bye.